Google was created in 1998 by a couple guys who had a grand idea. It's your boy Lucy.
Today, more than half of the Valley's engineers were born in other countries.
Doing something that is really innovative and cutting
Oh, I see they got Bill Gates over here for the interview. Okay.
edge, and that you can't do anywhere else. That is a compelling story, and that's why they come here.
The roster of immigrants who have shaped Silicon Valley includes Alexander Punyatov from Russia, founder of Ampex; Andrew Grove from Hungary, CEO of Intel; Jerry Yang from Taiwan, co-founder of Yahoo; Andreas Bechtolsheim from Germany, and Vinod Khosla from India, co-founders of Sun Microsystems; Elon Musk from South Africa, founder of Tesla; and from Russia, a young man named Sergey Brin.
Sergey's mother was disappointed he didn't complete his PhD, she told me. I was like, well, everything else turned out okay.
Which means she was still disappointed after this man done made millions and billions, created one of the most transformative companies to ever see the planet. And she's still talking about, you ain't get your PhD though.
It's hard to think of another Valley company whose name is said as often by so many.
We say the internet gathered up all the world's information and gave us access to it. No, Google gathered up all the world's information and gave us access to it. It's really the ability to search for knowledge that is the transformative event of our era.
This global giant, like so many of the Valley's legendary firms, owes its founding to the Valley's magnetic attraction, a force that draws two ambitious young people here.
It's, two people out of Stanford, that never had a job before.
Instagram came out of Stanford. Google came out of Stanford. But the YouTube guys had a stint at Stanford. But Stanford, giving us a lot of knowledge.
And started what today is one of the most successful companies in the world.
Larry Page is from Michigan. Sergey Brin, born in Russia, grows up in Maryland. After college,
Shout out Michigan, mama from Michigan. Shout out Maryland. I'm in Maryland right now.
each wants to pursue a PhD in computer science. Each decides to come to the Valley, to Stanford, where in 1995 they meet. The next
Stanford, beautiful for real though. I didn't know Stanford looked like that. Stanford looked like the Trump palace.
year, they decide to work together on a thesis project to improve the sorry state of search on the internet.
Search on the internet had become horrible.
The sheer amount of information available is immense, almost overwhelming.
And so finding things that were relevant was very difficult.
You might search for some important topic and you got somebody's kid's term paper on it, you got somebody who'd written about it, whatever.
You couldn't find anything anymore because the stuff you were looking for was like 100 pages down.
But Brin and Page think they found a solution.
The thing that really shifted was the recognition that deciding whether a particular thing was relevant to your search was not just a matter of looking at what was in it. You want to look for pages that other people think are valuable.
It's an idea they borrow from their parents.
Both Sergey and Larry were academic kids. Their families were professors, they were graduate students, and they were extremely familiar with the way that citations work in scientific literature. I write a paper, other people who think it's a good paper put a footnote in their paper pointing to my paper.
Now, the more citations you have in academic paper, the better the paper is deemed to be.
And maybe you could take that same structure and import it to the way that people link one page to another. So if lots of people link to my page, it probably means it's a good page.
They use a combination of elements in a creative way. They put together the popularity of academic elements based on citation. They put that mold with finding relevant information on the internet. A genius combination.
The idea was to build a system that you could reliably count how popular something was.
They named their search method after the mathematical term for one, followed by 100 zeros, intentionally misspelled.
I remember this day, the first search I did on Google was dramatically better than all the search that I had tried previous to that.
This dude remembered the first Google search he ever did. Who the hell is he?
Page and Brin, who are planning to stay in school and finish their PhDs, set out to sell their spiffy new tool.
They were looking to license the technology, and you often think you produce something wonderful and other people would love the baby you've created and would want to raise it, but the reality is they got other things going on and it doesn't look as pretty to them as it does to you.
They spend a year looking, but no one will pay for the rights to their search engine. So they ask David Cheriton, who's an investor as well as a professor, if he can help them find money to start their own company. In 1998, he asks a Stanford alumnus who co-founded Sun Microsystems to come to his home to meet Page and Brin.
Now imagine you got this tycoon just walking around amongst you. That's why Stanford is the haven for so many internet creatives.
So we met at David's house in Palo Alto, and it was like early morning at 8 o'clock, and I had a 9 o'clock meeting at Cisco, so I didn't have much time.
Larry and Sergey arrived first, and so they were out there on the front porch with me and connected into my Ethernet at home. And Andy pulled up in his Porsche and hopped out, and they demoed the Google running on this laptop.
It was working astonishingly well, I mean, even as this small demo. So clearly, I thought this was going to work. That wasn't even the question. The only question was, how would they make money with this? So the next question was like, what's the business model? How do you monetize this? And they would say, well, we can then link this all to these relevant ads. So relative to the search term you have, they could have this unlimited ad inventory and just you search for a tennis racket. Here's an ad from people who want to sell you tennis rackets, and and they will charge 5 cents a click for that, which is still the basic fee today. So in the back of my mind, I was calculating, they're going to get 1 million clicks a day at 5 cents a click, $50,000 a day. They cannot go broke. So it was
What did he just say?
clear that this was a money-making machine.
So he said, I don't want you guys to have to, take too low a valuation or to have to worry too much about these money things right now. Why don't I just write you a check? So he went back to his car, came back with his checkbook, and he wrote us a check for $100,000.
A new company is born, and soon a new verb, to Google. The website pulls in so much ad.
You see the dude spelling stuff wrong? Yeah, Google will tell you when you spell something wrong. That red squiggly.
That Google quickly becomes a very big business. When it goes public in 2004, it's worth $23 billion. By 2017, it's one of the most valuable companies on earth, worth $600 billion.
Less than 6 years, 5 years of some change, they go to $4 billion. Then 13 years from that, they go to $600 billion, 600. Now I'm curious about the Apple thing, the personal computer. What made it so that Google could take off in that way? So let's check that out. It's your boy, Lucy.